Just wanted to update everybody. Last night at just after 7 p.m., we had a house fire reported at 3915 East Countryside. When fire crews got on the scene, they were being told that we may have had people trapped in the house as they were en route. As they got on scene, they found heavy smoke showing from the house, and they were told by neighbors that actually 3 kids had been in the house but had been removed. The fire crews were able to get inside the house and get the fire knocked down pretty quick, but they did have 3 young children outside of the house, a 7-year-old, 6-year-old, and 4-year-old that were apparently home alone at the time of the fire. The children were evaluated. One was transported, the 6-year-old transported in critical condition to Via Christi St. Francis Hospital, where she remains now still in critical condition with severe burns and smoke inhalation. The 7-year-old was transported and evaluated and was later released. The 4-year-old was evaluated on the scene and was never in the hospital for treatment. The fire caused approximately $40,000 in damage to the structure and $15,000 to contents. The cause of the fire has been determined to be child fire play. These 3 kids were home alone at the time, and we had determined the 6-year-old had obtained a lighter and was playing with the lighter and led to the ignition of the clothing she was wearing, which led to her injuries. One thing I'd like to highlight, we had 2 citizens that were instrumental in this not being worse than it already is. The neighbors were alert and heard a smoke alarm going off, and as they investigated, they found smoke coming from this house and went over and started knocking on the doors. And both my interviews with the children and interviews on the scene, the kids may not have gotten out if it wasn't for these neighbors taking action and getting the door open and getting these 3 kids out. So that's one good thing to point out on this incident.
Do you have genders on the children?
They're all 3 girls, ages 7, 6, and 4.
Where were their parents or their parent or guardian in this situation?
I don't have that information.
Stu, do you know how long they were home alone?
I can't really talk about that. There is an ongoing investigation to see what all those circumstances were, and I can't really talk about that part of it.
And at this point, and you may have said this, I'm sorry, where are the children now?
The 6-year-old is still in critical condition at the hospital, and the other kids, to my knowledge, are in protective custody.
Any arrests made in the case?
I'm not aware of that. I know the kids are in protective custody right now while there's an investigation undergoing by the Wichita Police Department.
Can you tell us anything about the 6-year-old burns, like over what portions of the body or anything like that?
They're upwards of 40%. They're very significant burns. Like I said, they started with the clothing, and that whenever that's the initial fuel ignited, that's a very serious burn.
I just want to make sure we have the ages and everything right, because we had some conflicting information last night.
I know that there were some reports it was a 9-year-old. She told me herself she's 7 years old, so I'm taking that as the truth.
No boys.
No boys. I have 3 girls, 7, 6, and 4.
And it was the middle child that's the critical.
Correct.
And so, Stu, when the fire arrived on scene, all the girls were out?
Correct. Yeah, the neighbors.
Thanks to the neighbor.
Yeah, the neighbors had knocked on the door. They had some issues. They couldn't get the front door open. I believe they went to the back, and that's where they were able to get the girls out of the house so that they were able to meet the crews with the 3 girls, and so they could start rendering aid.
And the other 2, any type of injuries at all?
They were some slight smoke inhalation, I believe, but they were evaluated. And like I said, the 7-year-old was evaluated for a while at the burn center, but was released.
The fire started in what room?
It was in a bedroom. The event actually started in a bathroom, but when the girl, her clothes were on fire, she went into the bedroom, and she was able to get some of the clothing off, and some of it fell off, and that caught the bedroom on fire, and that's where all 3 girls had been previously. And then they exited that room and were trying to get out when the neighbors came to their aid.
You were able to confine the fire to that location?
Yeah, the fire was confined. It did extensive damage to that room, had a little bit of extension into the attic, but overall it was all in that space is where the fire crews were able to contain it.
And did the neighbors say where they found the children?
They were at the door. They didn't. The kids were at the point trying to get out, but they couldn't get a door open, and the neighbor was able to get it open to help them escape.
Do you know, was the door locked, or is there why they were?
You know, that's not clear. I don't believe they had to break the door down or anything like that. They were just having difficulty. The front door, I believe, was locked, is why the kids couldn't get out that way. But the neighbors were able to get it out from. They didn't have to use any special tools or knowledge. And I guess one thing I want to point out on this is that we did confirm that we had a lighter that was involved. It was our investigators found the lighter, and it's just one more tragic example of people need to realize that just because we're surrounded by these things, lighters, matches, or whatever, they're not something that are supposed to be left around. They're just as dangerous as a gun or a knife, and if we leave them around, bad things can happen, and this is an example of that. We need to treat them like they are. They are a very dangerous tool that can lead to very dire consequences.
Did a guardian show up during the time that your firefighters were there?
Yeah, we had several family members show up on the scene during the event, and then also at the hospital.
Could you say your name and spell it for us and your rank again, please?
Stuart Bevis, B-E-V-I-S. Stuart is S-T-U-A-R-T, and I'm the acting fire marshal for the Wichita Fire Department.
I know that, I think it was the mother arrived home and she drove over a couple fire hoses.
That was the grandmother.
Okay, was
Yeah,
there any damage or?
There was no reported damage. You know, she was very distraught. She'd gotten some phone calls that her grandbabies were in danger, and I can understand that. We always want people to approach the scene very cautiously because that could have led to some very dire consequences of damaging our hose and actually getting pretty close to actually hitting some emergency responders. But luckily, nothing, no adverse actions there.
Is it accurate to say that the lighter was just left in the bathroom and where the child could reach it?
It was in the house where it was easy for them to access. It was actually in another bedroom.
Oh, they grabbed it. At some point, she went into the bathroom. The fire started there. She ran into her bedroom and it spread there.
Yeah, that'd be accurate. So.
And Stu, as far as what started fire first,
She was burning some trash. She was burning some plastic material, and that led to her clothes catching fire.
The natural curiosity that young children with fire that children often have, huh?
You know, I've dealt with child fire play a long time, and there's a lot of ways to combat it. But when we're talking about kids, you know, when you get to 12, 13, they're making decisions. We have an age of accountability of age 10 where kids really know right from wrong. But before that, until we take control of things as adults and realize that we can't leave these kind of devices around for them to mess with, then we open ourselves up for these kinds of incidents. We have to take it very serious that those things have to be controlled.